What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my very own team selection for the upcoming Double Game Week 27. So Double Game Week 27, hopefully the start of finally getting some redemption points from that Game Week 26 wildcard. As you guys would have known, the Game Week 26 wildcard wasn't the best play in the world. So let's hope for some points finally and a green arrow in the upcoming game week. Now there's two big questions that revolve around Double Game Week 27. The first one is whether to bench boost or not. I'm going to conclude this video with that whole discussion. Might actually be a week that is quite enticing for those of you managers who have a strong bench this week like myself. And the second big question is going to be all about captaincy. I know yesterday we did kind of touch on the captaincy in the ultimate guide, but I decided to go a little bit more in depth in this video as it is quite a big question. Now of course I'll have the usual kind of Game Week 26 review. We had the Brentford game happening on Monday, an update on the rank there. And I'll talk about my actual team selection going into the upcoming game week. Is that something I was interested in? Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going on to my Game Week 26 review, when I created my transfer plan, we actually did have that Brentford vs Fulham game happening on Monday night. That game has concluded, and therefore this is going to be my final rank for Game Week 26. So we ended the game week on 39 points and unlocked the achievement yet again of actually getting a red arrow on a wildcard, and we had a red arrow to about the 340k mark. Now that red arrow was solely due to one fixture. It was going to be the Liverpool vs Man United game, where obviously Liverpool won a massive 7-0 victory. And let's just hope from now till Game Week 38 we do get some greens, because I really do need it if I want to push up high in the ranks. Now going to Game Week 27, we have one free transfer and 3.7 million in the bank, so quite a big upgrade can be made. Now starting off on our bench, and the big reason why we did actually get a red arrow instead of a green arrow was I played the wrong Brighton midfielder. I put Matoma on the bench for a lovely 13 points, and obviously I played Solly March. In terms of the rest of our players, Raya, Botman and Trippier went as planned, so thankfully they were on our bench. Our starting goalkeeper Kepa got us a clean sheet, which I was pretty happy about. Chelsea's defensive stats look pretty strong. You guys would have seen their XG conceded actually one of the best in the Prem over the last 6 game weeks. Going to our backline though, Henry unfortunately like Raya didn't keep a clean sheet. He was so close to actually getting an assist for an Mbumo chance, and honestly I don't really know how Mbumo missed that. We then had Gabriel, who conceded in the first kind of few minutes of that fixture. It's a little bit unlucky if you guys did have a double up on defense. Now to make matters worse, I did actually transfer out Ben White for Gabriel on my wildcard. He started off on the bench. I thought I made a great decision at the end of the day, take out a rotation risk for Gabriel. But what happens, Ben White comes on at halftime and actually scores a goal. If you guys want to see my entire kind of wildcard review versus my previous team, watch the transfer plan, and I did kind of take out 30 points on my wildcard. Luckily though, Stupinan did keep a clean sheet. I know you Robert Sanchez owners are pretty sad at that rotation. Completely out of the blue though, I didn't really expect it, but luckily I chose to go for a Stupinan instead of Sanchez. Now going to midfield department, and the real disappointment came from our captain and also his colleague. It was going to be Odegaard and Saka, and if you guys don't know, Odegaard took the most shots in Game Week 26, and unfortunately no attacking returns. And then going on to Saka, our kind of differential captain. It wasn't that differential. Most managers actually captain him at the end of the day. But when I saw Haaland only got 4 points, I was super happy, and I thought we finally could make some strides in the ranks. So what does Saka go and do? He blanks in that Bournemouth game. Arsenal scored 3 goals, he wasn't involved in any of them. So that was super disappointing for Game Week 26. Then we have Marcus Rashford, but everyone kind of owns him, so the fact that he blanked wasn't the end of the world. And as a Liverpool fan, I was pretty happy that I didn't captain him. Then finally going to that misery compiler was going to be Solly March in our starting 11 instead of Matoma. Now I'm a stats manager, that's why I went for Solly March, but if you guys did go for Matoma or McAllister, you probably got a green arrow. Then finally our forward department, we got Erling Haaland with only 4 points. I say only 4 points, but probably was the best captain for my team, but wouldn't have been enough to actually save me from a red arrow. Then finally going on to Ivan Toney, who scored on Monday evening. I think it was the only penalty area touch that he actually got, and then he also got a few bonus points. Then our last player is going to be Harry Kane. Another disappointing performance from Spurs, haven't scored in the last 3, considering last night, but I do still have faith in him to give me some points in Double Game Week 27. So as you guys can see, pretty disappointing game week overall. I think our main big hitters such as a Harry Kane blanking, that was a disappointment. We then had Saka as our captain blanking as well, Odegaard with so many shots and not getting any returns, and obviously the Brighton midfielder was a bit of a dilemma. But let me know how you guys got on in Game Week 26. Was it a green arrow? Was it a red arrow? Did you wildcard? Did you not? And if you did wildcard, how many points did you guys transfer out? Now before we get on to the actual Double Game Week 27 team selection, I want to give you guys an update about the weather. So yes, we are now going on to Dayvy weather forecast. And the big news is apparently it's snowing in England. Now the reason this might be a little bit of a dilemma is the fact that apparently it's snowing in Leeds, and Leeds vs Brighton is going to kick off on Saturday. Most managers have actually been saying that this could potentially be postponed, so just keep your eyes and ears on the news. Now, do I think it will be postponed? Probably not. I think that most England stadiums should be prepared for this kind of weather, but we have in the past seen fixtures postponed due to heavy snow. Now this is not meant to scare you at all, it's just meant to kind of prepare you because I do think we should get news about Saturday and also Sunday's fixtures. So then come the deadline stream, we should be able to tell what fixtures will be going ahead. I just want to put this out there so that you guys are prepared for it. But now go on to the actual double game week 27 team selection, and I won't lie to you guys, the team is looking absolutely stacked. You would think so though, after wildcarding one game week ago, if my team didn't look good, I'd be a little bit worried. But hopefully the points come in for double game week 27. So starting off on our bench, and the reason that you guys can know my starting 11 is stacked is the bench is absolutely stacked. We'll be talking about the bench boost shortly and whether we might actually be using the chip. So on our bench we have Kepa against Leicester away. On paper this game doesn't look too bad. Chelsea's XG considered as pretty strong. Leicester though have been playing better at the moment. So don't you know if this is a guaranteed clean sheet. We then have Odegaard and Gabriel, the combo from Arsenal with their Fulham away game. In terms of Odegaard, I'm more scared of him than Gabriel. I think that Fulham might be quite an attacking side, especially from the left-hand side, but Fulham's defense isn't the best. Then finally we have Botman against Wolves at home, great fixture on paper, and then Newcastle can get back on the clean sheet way of things, and that's why benching Botman's a little bit annoying. Now in terms of points projections, we'll be going over those shortly as I said in terms of the bench boost dilemma, but right now the bench looks pretty strong. Going on to our starting 11 though, we're going to start off with our goalkeeper, Raya. Obviously has the double game week, we went for him over Sanchez. Everton away, Southampton away, great fixtures on paper. Both away games though, which is a little bit bad, but I still think Brentford could keep one clean sheet in this one. I'm going to bring in Henry right now because he has the same fixtures, obviously offers more of an attacking threat than Raya, but Raya always offers those save points. A little interesting fact here is that on Fantasy Football Fix, in terms of projected points, Raya is actually the highest projected point scorer, so if you guys do want to go for a differential punt, won't recommend captaining a goalkeeper, but he might be in the points. With Henry offers that more attacking threat which might be more valuable in these fixtures. As I said, I expect maybe one clean sheet, but not two. With my single game week defender of choice, it's going to be Trippier. Now between Gabriel and Trippier, it's quite close. Both of the kind of clean sheet odds are similar, but I do favour the attacking threat of Trippier in that Newcastle team. So will that come back to bite us? Who kind of knows, but yet again, it's another benching 50-50 dilemma. Going on to Stupinan, no questions there, he's going to be starting for us. Leeds away, Crystal Palace at home. We saw Crystal Palace XG over the last 6, over the entire season has been pretty dreadful. So I honestly do think that Brighton might keep 2 clean sheets here. Talking about Brighton, moving into midfield department, our 2 midfielders of choice will be in our starting 11 now, Mitoma and Solly March. So no, now we can't bench one of them and the bench player gets more points. Hopefully both of them do pretty well and outscore McAllister. Now these 2 games could be quite attacking. I do favour Brighton. You guys would have seen their XG over the last 6 has been absolutely gigantic, over 2 XG per game, and that's why they might even be the favourite Campsy options. We're going to fill in the middle of our midfield with Saka against Fulham away, and then finally Rashford against Southampton at home. 2 fixtures on paper that look simply outstanding. I do hope that they bounce back from their game week 26 performances. Now heading into our forward line, Haaland against Crystal Palace away in the home fixture, got 17 points. What will he score in this game week? Hopefully not too many, as we won't probably captain him. Now I do hope that Haaland is under 100% ownership because it's finally one of those weeks where we can cheer him on, as I do think that Man City could do quite well in this fixture. Then the main man, Ivan Toney, in the middle of our forward department. Great fixtures on paper, Everton away, Southampton away. Would have liked them to be home fixtures, but I think that Ivan Toney can do well against anyone. Now the big thing about Ivan Toney, that if you guys do recall, is that he avoided a yellow card on Monday evening, and therefore he has to get 2 yellow cards to actually be suspended. So what I'm saying there is that even if he gets a yellow card against Everton and Southampton, he still will play both games in 27. Our final player yet again is to be Harry Kane, Nottingham Forest at home. I do hope that Harry Kane finally scores here. Surely Harry Kane scores against Nottingham Forest at home, although the Spurs form right now isn't making me too confident. But as you guys can see, the starting 11 looks absolutely stacked. I don't really think there are any replacements for my bench. I could go for Gabriel over maybe a Trippier, maybe bench a Haaland for someone like a Odegaard, but generally I think this is kind of the template starting 11 for the wildcarders. If you guys have any benching dilemmas, comment them down below. Any kind of transfer plan dilemmas, let me know your thoughts, as I'll be banking a transfer for this upcoming game week. So now we're going to move on to the actual Campsy dilemma, because I'm not going to make any transfers. As mentioned earlier on a few seconds ago, I'm actually banking a transfer because, as you guys would have seen, the starting 11 and bench looks absolutely stacked. If you guys can see a transfer, let me know in the comments down below, because I can't see one, unless we do get some injury news coming up. So go on to the Campsy debate, and for me, it's really down to what kind of double game week team you guys want to captain. The 2 teams of question are Brentford and Brighton. Yes, we do have some other teams such as kind of a Crystal Palace, but you guys would have seen their XG isn't too great. So therefore for me it's Brighton or Brentford. There are some other single game week options. Harry Kane against Nottingham Forest at home, great fixture. Salah against Bournemouth away, massive fixture. Guys, remember they won 9-0 in the reverse fixture. And then finally we have Haaland against Crystal Palace, who you can never write off. But for me as an FPL manager, I'm always drawn to the double game weeks, so for me it's between Brighton and Brentford. Now I'm going to start off with the Brighton side of things because, as you guys will know, it's super close between all their midfielders, so let's see what midfielder is the best to go for. So in terms of the midfielders, you have the 3 M's. You've got March, you've got Mitoma, and you finally have McAllister. Now I own the first two, Matoma and March, but you guys could also own McAllister if you went a little bit differential. Now in terms of the fixtures, Leeds away, Crystal Palace at home. I mentioned this in the video yesterday, but Leeds and Crystal Palace have conceded the most chances down Solly March's flank. Now there's multiple ways to interpret that. You guys can think that he maybe cuts in, gets a shot, but the other way to look at it is that he might create the chance, pass it to the other side of Matoma, and Matoma finishes. So Matoma will obviously get more chances there, but I think on paper, in terms of the stats, you got to favour Solly March on the fact they consider the most chances down his flank. It's a little bit of an interesting piece of information that might sway your mind on going for Solly March, but let's look at some other stats. So in terms of the projected points, they have shifted slightly from yesterday's video. We have seen some updates from Fix, and Solly March is now projected to score 9.2. We have Matoma at 8.7 and McAllister as the lowest number at 7.6. Now all these numbers are pretty similar. I wouldn't kind of decide on projected points if you're going to go for a captain, as all these numbers are pretty related. But I guess if you do use projected points for your captaincy dilemmas, you will go for Solly March as he's the highest projected point scorer. Now added to this, in terms of other projected websites, other algorithms, I've seen Matoma first, I've seen McAllister first, so it's really close between these players. Now another stat I want to go over is going to be the top 100k ownership. Why the top 100k? It's a little bit better than the top 10k as it's more of a realistic target for myself, but you guys can also go for the top 10k if you want. So in terms of the top 100k ownership, Matoma comes in first with 47% ownership, within a Solly March with 24.4, then finally McAllister with a very minimal 5.6. So if you guys do want to go mega differential, McAllister is the man to go for, but Solly March and Matoma's ownership is actually quite interesting for me. So in terms of safety of Brighton mids, I think Matoma will be the most captain option, will have the highest effective ownership, so if you guys want to go a little bit safe, but risky, I think Matoma is the man to go for. Solly March for me in terms of the stats, projected points, is coming out as the best option, even with those chances conceded on his flank. Then added to that, he is more differential than a Matoma, so you are getting that kind of differential captain, and that's why for me he's my favourite out of the Brighton mids. Now please don't kind of take this as gospel, any of these midfielders could be great assets to go for, and that's why I'm personally already looking to captain a Brighton mid, because it's quite hard to project who's going to score the most points. So leading on to the fact that I said that I probably won't captain a Brighton mid, I'm going to bring up the other asset that I probably will go for, that's going to be Ivan Toney. So let's compare Ivan Toney and also Solly March because as I mentioned, my favourite Brighton mid to captain, and let's compare their fixtures. So in terms of the fixtures, I do think that there's a slight advantage towards the Brentford ones. Everton away, Southampton away, those two teams have been conceding a few goals, but will they put up more of a fight because they are in a relegation battle? I guess Leeds and Crystal Palace aren't necessarily kind of free from safety, but we have also seen them strip a few over the past couple of game weeks. But as mentioned, I do prefer the fixtures slightly from a Brentford point of view. Now when you are comparing these two teams, you got to mention the kind of XG conceded and XG. I think that Brighton could keep a clean sheet point, that's going to be an advantage for the midfielder versus the forward of Toney, and also the fact that Brighton are scoring so many goals. But for me, the main dilemma is going to be picking the right Brighton midfielder. I just feel like if I captain Matoma and Solly March scores, that's going to be super annoying, and that's why I might as well just cut my losses and go for the Brentford striker. But going on to projected points, as I mentioned, Fix has updated these overnight. Toney's currently on 9.5 and March is on 9.2. So a slight advantage towards Ivan Toney in terms of the projected points, but they're super close. Then go on to actual ownership within the top 100k as mentioned. We've got Ivan Toney with the highest ownership of 52.3% and Solly March as mentioned with 24.4. So here's where we kind of conclude. I think in terms of my own team, I don't mind playing it a little bit safer because of the fact that I won't be choosing which Brighton mid is going to score the most points. And at the end of the day, Ivan Toney might have the highest effective ownership. I think that Solly March is the more differential captain to go for. If you guys want to make up your ranks, any Brighton mid would be the choice. And at the end of the day, I hope that both do well. Let me know in the comments down below who you guys are captaining into this upcoming game week. Is it an Ivan Toney or is it a Brighton midfielder? Or are you guys going for a single game week captain? Now the final talking point I want to go over is going to be the bench boost chip. As mentioned earlier on, the bench boost could be used in double game week 27 or in double game week 29. Now my original plan was to use it in double game week 29, but we have had some concerns about the international break as some options like a Matoma and an Estupiñán could be traveling halfway around the world. So let's go over my bench for this upcoming game week, and what I've done is I went over to the Fix extension, the Google Chrome extension, and I sorted this according to projected points as well as fixtures. So on top of the screen you guys can see my game week 27 double game week bench. I've got Kepa, Odegaard, Gabriel, and then finally Botman. Underneath them, the first bubble is going to be the projected points for double game week 27, and then finally underneath is going to be the fixture. Now as mentioned early on, the Leicester away game might be a little bit tough for Chelsea, also the Fulham away game for Arsenal. Don't think Fulham are kind of the easiest rollover team. But I do think Botman should keep a clean sheet against Wolves. Now I'm going to bring up my double game week 29 bench, and what I've done here is I kind of plan my future transfers. This is Ollie Watkins in for Haaland next game week, and then Luke Shaw and Fernandes in for Gabriel and then also Odegaard. So if I was to bring in those three options over the next 2 game weeks, my bench would be Raya, Kane, Henry, and then finally Botman. Their fixtures on paper don't look as strong for a double game week, in that Brentford's double game week is pretty bad. Brighton and United, not many clean sheets could be had there, but I guess there's a chance of a clean sheet and some save points for my 2 Brentford players. Harry Kane against Everton looks like a great game on paper. Then finally Botman has a tough double against United, but then an easier game against West Ham away. So what I did was, don't worry guys, I don't have to bring out a calculator. I calculated the projected points total. For my Game Week 27 bench, it's going to be 16.9 points, and for my double Game Week 29 bench, it's 24.0. So in terms of projected points, we've got a heavy lead in terms of our Game Week 29 bench, but there is more of a risk as you might have injuries, and as mentioned, the international break could cause some rotation concerns. So what you're kind of trading off here is future projected points for information right now. Most of these options in my Game Week 27 bench should play, should start, should get you points. But it comes down to a high risk versus high reward strategy. If you're willing to risk it, in terms of the injuries, in terms of that international break travel, the reward should be high in terms of projected points, and that's why I'm currently leaning towards going for the more risky strategy, as it should yield me more points at the end of the day. But this really comes down to what sort of manager you are. If you want to go for a more differential aspect, you could go for this game week. But when I look at these fixtures, I did see Gabriel and Kepa losing their clean sheet, but if Odegaard and Botman bang, you could actually get some points. So my current thinking right now, we will get some more injury news in terms of the press conferences coming up today and tomorrow. But right now, I think the Game Week 29 bench boost might be slightly more favored in my opinion because of the higher reward strategy. But you guys can let me know your strategy down below. Are you using the bench boost this week? Are you using it in Game Week 29? And what's your thinking behind it? But that's my video guys, hope you did enjoy it. Don't like, video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Hopefully you'll be doing a deadline stream coming up on Saturday, 1 hour before the deadline. So hope to see you guys there. But I'm signing off Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.